Hello, my name is Kevin Barrera. I'm an international communication student at Hansa University. I am here today with José Eduardo Fonseca, personal trainer at Dale Carnegie and master's candidate of international business. Am I right?
Yeah.
All right, how are you today?
Great. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
How was your day in Groningen today?
Perfect. A little bit cold and rainy as always.
Yeah, not a surprise, is it? All right, well, today we are here to talk about your insights as a professional, as a communication professional in the business world you have been in. I understand that you have been working also with businesses in Mexico, like big businesses such as Modelo, which is like a huge beer company in Mexico. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, definitely. What I think now in my, let's say, 4 years of working experience, what I've seen through Dale Carnegie and through Corona Beer is the importance of the effective communication. And effective communication, it's not always being very skilled on public speaking, for example. Because sometimes you have to communicate with one people, with two people, with a small team, and your message has to be also very clear for them.
Right.
Using the language, using the energy that you have, that you actually want to promote in your business environment with your team. So I really think that communication and effective communication, it is very important in a international business arena,
Right.
or also in inside of a country.
Right, and what would you describe exactly as effective communication?
Yeah, effective communication for me, based more on what I have learned in Dale Carnegie, it's being very aware of your public, your audience, right? To understand to who you are talking to, right? If you are talking to the board of managers, or you are talking to your colleagues,
Right.
or you are talking to, we don't know, but we also have to be aware of who are we talking to, right? In order to understand which kind of words, the wording is very important, the rhythm of the conversation, the energy that you show to your
Right.
audience, right? So I
course.
think that understanding your audience, in that way you can be a better communicator.
Right. In your personal case, is there a memorable, maybe occasion where you had to make use of those communication skills, understanding who you are approaching, and how did that influence you?
Yeah, definitely. Also, as a trainer in Dale Carnegie, I worked as a business analyst, which is more a consultancy part. So sometimes there are some consultants that they go to companies, to schools, and they try to sell these programs that we teach, right? But I'm not a salesperson. I'm more like the trainer, the person that delivers the service, right? But sometimes there are some companies that they really want to understand how does this work in real life, right? So sometimes me as a trainer have to go there to the business meetings to tell them and to give them an explanation
Right.
of how these courses work and how these courses can improve their situation in their business environment.
Right, of course. Is there a specific skill other than effective communication that makes a communication professional outstanding with the rest?
Yeah. There are some communicators. Let's talk about excellent speakers. Nick Vujicic, Barack Obama, right? Tony Robbins.
Right.
Those guys, they already have their own way to do the things.
Exactly. Right.
So they don't change according to their audience.
So maybe it's about the personality.
They have developed a personality, a character, a product that the people is willing to get,
Exactly.
to understand, to listen, right?
But then this personality is more of a product rather than their objective selves, or do you think that there can be a balance between the two of them?
I think to really be a good communicator, something that you for sure need is honesty.
Right.
If you're not honest with the people you're talking to, they will realize right? So when they are not being real, they are trying to cheat the audience. They are trying to sell something that it's not really inside them.
Right.
Then the people, they understand that, because people is not is aware of what is going on. They are intelligent, so they really perceive their honesty or their lies, right? So being congruent and being truthful, it's something important as a communicator.
Right.
Never say lies, never say something you don't really mean, because then you won't have the same credibility with any other people, right?
Yeah. Is there a moment in your career where you have found yourself in an uncomfortable place where you felt like you were trying to give an idea to the people you were talking to, and those people were maybe blocking it out?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
What do you do in those cases?
Yeah, for example, in the beginning of my professional career as a trainer, I was just a trainer for teenagers.
Right.
Right. So I wasn't working with companies, I wasn't working with already professionals, but with teenagers.
That's
Right.
a bit more difficult,
From-
isn't it?
Yeah, imagine
Right.
from 13 years old to 17 years old. That's a very difficult
Age.
stage in our lives.
Right.
I was such a mess in those
Right.
times of my teenage years,
Yeah.
right? So trying to teach these kind of skills to teenagers, sometimes it's difficult, but because they already know how does it feel to go to the school, for example, and they know
Yeah.
it's boring, and
Yeah.
they know there is this guy talking the whole day trying to teach you something, and they don't really want to understand it, and they don't have a lot of willingness to get educated, right? They come to these courses and they think it's exactly the same as going to a school. And for
Mhm.
example, these courses were on Saturdays. So imagine getting up early on a Saturday
Right.
for going to see a guy talking in front of you. It's the same as always, right? So of course, the first approach to them, it was very difficult at the beginning, but as a communicator also, as we talked before, you really have to understand how to break that ice, right?
Right.
How to really get that attention
Right.
from your audience.
Of course.
Because if you understand previously what they are thinking about you and that they don't want to be there,
Right.
then you can really manage that. If you
Right.
do not understand and you feel like all the knowledge and all the things that you have to say are important for them,
Right.
then you're thinking in the same way the school thinks.
Then how do you make these young public comfortable with what you're going to tell them? Do you maybe crack a joke that is approachable to those kind of teenagers, or is there a specific way that you found out?
Yeah, well, there are actually some techniques, because these courses are not really lectures, are more like workshops.
Right.
Actually, are called talleres in Spanish, workshops, because it's more integrating everyone's opinions, coming to the front to give
Yes.
the presentations. So they really are practicing all the time. So for example, something that I always use in my workshops, it's music. Right? Something that
Interesting.
in normal classes they don't have. They are just listening to the person in front, but they are just trying to pay attention to that. And I don't want that, because at the end I'm just a tool to give, let's say, my previous knowledge to them, but I'm not the knowledge, right? So I'm not the most important part in there. The most important are the books and all the information from previous authors that are supporting my ideas, right? So I use music, I use some activities, get up, go to find a couple, go to make a group of 4 or 5 people, discuss this topic, and while they are doing this, I play, I don't know, reggaeton music, or like music very, very with movement.
Yeah.
So they feel like they are even in a party.
Do they actually focus listening to reggaeton music?
Yeah.
Which is like, for the general audience, it's Latin music you hear lately on the radio, very
Yeah, exactly.
dancey, groovy.
And of course, yeah, and that's of course the importance of knowing your audience, because if I were doing this in Europe, for example,
Right.
with Dutch teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't be the same.
Right. Of course.
I couldn't play reggaeton, right?
Right.
It should be something different. or find the proper way to approach them.
Right, of
Right.
course.
But in Mexico, I've done this before, and they really, I mean, you really get their attention because they are like, okay, this is weird.
Okay.
This guy has like 20 something years old. That's not normal.
Yeah.
This guy is playing music that I know.
Yeah.
Some people like it, some no, but at least they, you know,
Right.
they feel like related.
Yeah. Exactly.
They know it. Of course, my wording with them, it's not that formal. It
course.
goes a little bit. I never use bad words, or I never use like
Yeah.
very friendly communication with them,
Right.
because you also want to have your position, right?
So it's kind of a middle ground between
Always.
formal and informal.
Always, yeah,
Right.
always doing this. I mean, you know me, I'm not a very formal person in my personal life,
Right. Yeah.
right? But when I have to be professional, when I have to be formal or straightforward or a more effective communicator, that sometimes in my personal life I don't really practice it all the time, because you also want to live as it comes, right?
All right.
But when you are aware of what you need, then you do it and you pay attention to your audience, I think.
Right. Of course. Would you say that someone without the proper communication skills is less likely to make it into the business world, or for that matter, in any workplace?
Yeah.
Or do you think that maybe there's like a gap, like a loophole, where people are not necessarily demanded to have good communication skills because it's not a given to everybody?
Exactly. I think that there should be the differentiation, because there are some business environments where a lot of communication among people is not that important. I'm not saying it's non-existent, but it's not that important.
Right.
To place an example, there are some engineers that they work in factories, they work in production lines, and these people are not always connected to many people.
Right.
They have some co-workers, some colleagues, they have bosses, or maybe a level of people that they are managing, but normally are not big groups of people.
Right.
Right? And it's still business, and it's still a professional environment. But in those cases, those people have to be more efficient in technical knowledge
Right.
than in communication. Of course, I could say everyone needs it, because at the end, they are working with other human beings. They are not just working with computers, right? Or with production lines, or with products.
Maybe in the future, but that's the whole
Exactly.
other topic. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And right now, and that's something important, right now, we are still living in a century where we need to communicate our thoughts, our beliefs, even our feelings sometimes are important to communicate. Of course, that's more in a personal situation.
Well, yeah. Right. Of course.
But sometimes even saying it out loud in a professional place, or let's say in an office, in the proper time, it even works, because at the end we're humans, right? And sometimes I've seen in some environments, professional environments, that people forget about that they are humans, and at the end.
To the audience, there was a little technical problem. The video shut it down. I was telling Lalo that maybe it's when you understand that you're facing just another human being with its flaws, with its qualities, and you understand that this person also has problems, also comes back home to maybe an unhealthy relationship or something like that. Maybe it's in that moment that you connect on a deeper level with a human being, and you are able to communicate properly with him or her, in a specific case.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always very difficult, right, to put yourself in others' shoes.
Right.
But being empathetic in businesses improves a lot the communication you have, right, with people, because then you are honestly, and that's important, honestly trying to understand how they are feeling, how they are doing in their lives outside of this business environment. And if you do that, they will realize and they will feel it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have felt that, if you have seen that. Whenever someone feels that you care about them, then the relationship and the channels of communication improve a lot.
Right.
Because they are really feeling that you are paying attention and that you are thinking of them as someone important. And that is actually what societies are supposed to do, right? To make others important and to grow as a community. But to do that and to create a community inside of a business environment, sometimes it's very difficult because everyone wants to be the best and everyone wants to go to the next level and earn more money and do better things so the boss can see them, right? But I think in these days it's more important to be a good team player, to be someone that really can connect to people in businesses, in offices, in whatever. Because in that way, your network and the possibility to create better things are easy to see for everyone, right? Because they trust you and they feel like they can, that you are trusting them, right? So relationships based on trust are very important in a business situation. Easy, no, very, very difficult, but it's basically, I would say, based on a very honest way of doing things.
Right. Are you familiar by any chance with Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yeah.
It reminded me a bit of that because he's a very straightforward, he's an entrepreneur. For the audience, if you don't know him, is an entrepreneur. He's very straightforward.
American now, but he was born in Ukraine.
Yes, he's Belarusian.
Belarus.
Yeah. And nationalized, yeah. And he is a personal coach, and he's very straightforward, and some people don't like him because he's a little over the top for some people because he's very honest, but what he says as well is that you have to create a sense of community within your business because otherwise it will probably fall apart because there's like too many competitors and it just becomes an unhealthy environment for everyone.
Definitely.
Just to close up, what advice would you give to upcoming communication professionals?
Yeah. Definitely one skill very, very important for a communicator is the capacity to listen. To listen to people, but really pay attention to what they are saying. I just read and I quote, listen to understand what the people is telling you instead of listening just to answer
Right.
to the people. Right? And it's that's very very different because sometimes we're listening to someone, we're talking to someone, and we don't share the same thoughts, we don't share the same perception, and then we try to fight back, and then you don't really understand the drivers of the other person. So when you are really skilled on listening, then you can become a better communicator because you start understanding and learning from other different people, different than you, right?
The ending spoke to me even on a spiritual level. Thank you very much, José Eduardo. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching the whole thing through.
Se acabó.